discussion. Today's discussion is the fungal infection. Fungal infections. Okay, so we divide the fungal infection of the skin in two categories: superficial fungal infection of skin, superficial fungal infection, and deep fungal infection. So which one are the superficial fungal infections? First one is the pityriasis versicolor, pityriasis versicolor. Versi mean variant, color mean color, different colors. So first superficial fungal infection is the pityriasis versicolor. Second one is the Piedra, Piedra, Piedra. Third one is the candidiasis. So candidiasis. And fourth one is the tinea. So these are the superficial fungal infection of skin: pityriasis versicolor, Piedra, candidiasis, tinea. So which one are the deep fungal infections? So deep fungal infection is the sporotrichosis. First one is the sporotrichosis. Other name of the sporotrichosis is the Rose Gardner disease. Other name is the Rose sporotrichosis, Rose Gardner disease. Other name of this one is the rose thorn disease. Rose thorn disease, sporotrichosis. Okay, next one is the mycetoma. Second one is the mycetoma. Third deep is the chromoblastomycosis. 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 Other name of the chromoblastomycosis is the Fonseca disease. Fonseca disease. So we'll discuss all these diseases one by one in detail. So for the new joiners, so I'm going to repeat. Topic of the discussion is the fungal infection. We divide the fungal infection of the skin in two categories. One is the superficial fungal infection of the skin, deep fungal infection of the skin, and the superficial fungal infection of the skins are the pityriasis versicolor, Piedra, candidiasis, tinea, and deep fungal infections are the sporotrichosis. Other name of the sporotrichosis is the Rose Gardner disease. are rose thorn disease, mycetoma, chromoblastomycosis are the Phoenicia disease. Okay, so let's discuss one by one all these diseases, superficial first and then deep later. Before going into discussion of the disease, we use the two stains for the fungal infections. So two stains are used. Two stains are used for identification of fungi. For fungi identification. Once this question has been asked in the NEB exam, which one stains, how many types of these stains are used for the fungal identification, for the fungi identification. So these two stains are, the first one stain is the PAS and other one is the GMS. GMS. So PAS stain and the GMS stain are used for identification or for identifying the fungi. So what is the PAS? So let's discuss first what is the PAS. PAS is the periodic acid Schiff stain. Periodic acid Schiff stain. What is that stain? Periodic acid Schiff stain. So actually, this periodic acid is the iodine, oxidized iodine. What is that? It is the iodine. But that iodine, I2, is the +7 oxidation. Periodic acid is the iodine that exists in the oxidation form. Okay, so this will react with the fucinic acid or the Schiff reagent, and then it will impart the color. That color is the magenta color. Magenta color. It means periodic acid, it will react with the Schiff reagent. If the fungi are present, then it will impart the magenta color. If fungi are present. What is the magenta color? Magenta color is the purplish color. What is that? Magenta means purplish. Purplish color. So it means if you take part or you do the biopsy of the skin, you take some part of the skin, okay, and then stain it with the PAS. If the color is the magenta or the purplish, it means fungi is present. So purplish or magenta color is the result that stain or PAS stain is positive, it means fungi are present. So this PAS stain is also used for the detection of the glycogen deposit. Other, other than the fungal identification, this PAS is used to detect glycogen deposit. Where the glycogen is deposited? In the liver. So it is used for the glycogen storage diseases. When you want to detect the glycogen deposit in the glycogen storage diseases, then you will also use the PAS, periodic acid Schiff stain. So when you want to detect when the PAS is positive, it means that your test is giving the magenta color. Magenta color mean purplish color that suggests that is suggestive that fungi are present on your skin biopsy. PAS stain is also used to detect the glycogen deposit when you want to detect the glycogen storage disease. When glycogen storage disease is suspected, when glycogen storage disease is suspected, then you will use the PAS, periodic acid shift stain. Okay, so when fungi is present, the color will change into magenta color, that is the purplish color. So formation of purplish color is suggestive for the presence of the fungi on the skin biopsy. Clear? Next one is the GMS stain. What is the GMS stain? GMS stands for the Gomery methenamine silver stain. Gomery methenamine silver stain. So when you want to detect the fungi by the GMS staining, so the fungi profile will be black. What mean? Here are the fungi, it will be black. It is the fungi will be black. Fungi fungus profile will be black with the greenish background. With the greenish background. So it is actually these are the different kinds of the chemicals used to detect the fungi. So in the GMS stain, the color of the fungi will be black but greenish background. So black color is the fungi. So when you do the GMS stain, Gomery methenamine silver stain, actually you will find that black color is fungal profile and pale green color to the background. So this greenish background with black color. So black actually here I made it the red, but actually consider these are the black dots. So these black dots are suggestive for the fungi. So keep in mind how many stains are available for the identification of the fungi? Two stains. One is the PAS stain and other is the GMS stain. PAS stain mean periodic acid shift stain, and in this when the periodic acid shift stain is positive, then the color of the chemical will turn into magenta, that is the purplish color. So when the color will turn purplish, it means that is suggestive for the presence of fungi. If on the GMS stain, when you find there are some black dots surrounded by the greenish background, so these black dots are suggestive for the presence of the fungi. So GMS stain gives the black dots and PAS stain gave the purplish or magenta color. So these are two stains for identification of the fungi. So I'm not going to discuss which chemicals are used, silver nitrate, whatever. So just you have to recover with the products. So let's discuss the diseases one by one. Pityriasis versicolor. So first disease is the pityriasis versicolor. So name is indicating pityriasis means scaly, versi mean various, color mean color. So there, if there are the different color scaly skin, skin is scaly with the different colors, that is the suggestive for the pityriasis versicolor. If the color of the skin is different but these different colors are scaly different color skin is the pityriasis versicolor. Interruptions. So we're discussing the pityriasis versicolor. Pityriasis means scaly, versi mean various, color mean color. When there is a various color of the skin, but these various colors of the skin are scaly, various color skin. Scaly and various color skin is known as pityriasis versicolor. So what are the causative agent? So what are the agents? Especially agents are the causative agents are the fungi, but these fungi are the Malassezia group of the organisms. Malassezia group of organism. Malassezia group of the organisms are the causative agent. These Malassezia group of the organisms are the natural organisms and their habitat is skin. So these are normal inhabitant of our skin. Malassezia group of the organisms are normal inhabitant of our skin, but under the certain circumstances, they tend to flourish and causes the pityriasis versicolor. So these are the normal inhabitant of skin. There, it means they are present normally on our skin, but under the certain circumstances, like if you don't wash, take a bath, if your skin is the oily, so then they under these circumstances they will flourish, and when they will flourish, they will give the different colored scaly skin known as pityriasis versicolor. But these Malassezia group of the organisms are three types. So Malassezia group of the organisms can be divided. Yes, so here is the page number 5. So these Malassezia group of the organisms are, first one is the Malassezia furfur. Here is the Malassezia furfur. Second one is the Malassezia globosa. Malassezia globosa. And third one, a group of the Malassezia organism is the Sympodialis. Sympodialis. So these are three kinds of the Malassezia. So Malassezia organisms, Malassezia group of the organisms are the Malassezia furfur, Malassezia globosa, and Malassezia sympodialis. But most common in the subcontinent are the Asia. Asia is the this one Malassezia globosa. Malassezia globosa, okay, that is the most common in subcontinent are the Asia. But Malassezia furfur is most common in world. Worldwide, most common is the Most common in worldwide is Malassezia furfur, and in the Asia most common is the Malassezia globosa. Okay, so what actually Malassezia group of the organisms, globosa, furfur, and the Sympodialis, they cause the pityriasis versicolor. So when they cause the pityriasis versicolor, what are the clinical presentation, clinical feature of the pityriasis versicolor? Clinically, the pityriasis versicolor is presented by the hypopigmentation. So we have discussed the pigmentary disorders. So hypopigmentation means skin will become dull, skin will become white and white patches on the skin, and sometimes there are the hyperpigmentation. Clinically, the patient will appear with the skin having the hypopigmentation, but sometimes are the hyperpigmentation. But most dominant is the hypopigmentation is more common. It is the dominant. I will tell you what is the reason for hypopigmentation and what is the reason for the hyperpigmentation. And clinically, patient will present with the hypopigmentation. So this hypopigmentation is dominant over hyperpigmentation. It means if there are the 100 patient, out of 100, 80 has the hypo and 20 has the hyper. So most dominant is the hypopigmentation. Okay, hypopigmentation with perifollicular macules. Perifollicular macules or perifollicular area. These hypopigmentation will be present on the perifollicular location. So this perifollicular location mean the area of the body that is sebum rich area. So which one areas of your body are the sebum rich areas? Especially upper chest, where you will feel more or more sweating. Okay, upper back and face. So it means you will patient will present to you, patient will come to you with hypopigmentation most commonly, but sometime with hyperpigmentation, where these will be macules and these macules will be present on perifollicular area. These macules will be present on sebum rich areas, and sebum rich areas mean these hypopigmentation will be present on upper chest, upper back and upper face. Why? Because these areas are the sebum rich areas. Okay, why? Because these Malassezia group of the organisms are the lipophilic. It is the oil loving. So when there is a more sebum, more oil. When there is a more sweat, definitely more oil. So lipophilic areas of your body are the upper chest, upper back, face. So therefore, these organisms are lipophilic, and the most common site of the hypopigmentation is the sebum rich areas. Actually, these are macule, small patches. When these macules coincide, they will make patch. So macules coincide and make the patches. Clear? These patches will be fine, briny. These patches will be fine, briny, furfuraceous scale. Furfuraceous scales. So these are the clinical presentation. Again repeating, patient will present to you, patient will present in front of doctor with the hypopigmentation, and these hypopigmentary macules on the upper chest, upper back, on face. These are known as perifollicular areas because this melasma group of the organisms are the lipophilic, and these macules will coincide and they will become bigger in size, call them the patches, and these patches will become fine and briny. Briny mean color is look like the wheat color. We call it gandumi. Okay, brown. So that will become briny, brownish in color, but furfuraceous scale mean they will become the rice powder like. Rice powder like. Clear? And these scales will not be appear with the naked eye. Keep in mind, still clinical features are going on. So here is the page number 7. So they have the nail scratch sign. They have the nail scratch sign. It is positive. Positive nail scratch sign. Other name of the nail scratch sign is also called as coq d'anglais. Coq d'anglais sign. Other name of this nail scratch sign is the Bessiner sign. What is that signs? So these signs are positive. This is the single three name of this single test. Actually, we have discussed that there are the hypopigmentation macules on the sebum rich areas, perifollicular areas. When these macules coincide, they make the patches, and these patches are fine, briny, furfuraceous scales. But these scales, keep in mind, scales, therefore it is called as pityriasis. But these scales are very fine. When the scales are fine, they may not be seen with the naked eye because these are the scales, but these scales are very, very fine. These fine scales may not be seen with the naked eye. So then you will scratch this sign with the nail. When you scratch it with the nail, okay, it will become more visible. When you scratch it with the nail, it will become more visible. Okay, so and also prominent. When the scale will become more visible and prominent, such sign is known as nail scratch sign positive. Other name of the nail scratch sign is the Cope d'Anglais sign is positive. And there is the Bessner sign is positive. So actually, so how when what are the clinical presentation or clinical features? Clinically, these are hypopigmented or hyperpigmented perifollicular macules, and these macules will coincide and make the patches, and these patches will be fine, briny, furfuraceous scales. These furfuraceous scales are the rice powder appearance are not, may not be visible with naked eye. So to make it visible and more prominent, you scratch it with the nail and it will become more visible and prominent, and such a sign is known as nail scratch sign is positive. What is positive? Nail scratch sign is positive. But what are the site for the pityriasis versicolor? Site is the upper chest and upper back in the adult. In the adult, these will be more prominent on the upper back and upper chest. But in the children, it will be more prominent on the face. So in the children face and in the adult, upper chest and upper back is the more prominent. Clear? So what is the cause of the hypopigmentation and what is the cause of the hyperpigmentation? So hypopigmentation, we have studied that this pityriasis versicolor may be hypopigmented macules or hyperpigmented macules, but most dominant is the hypopigmented. So actually hypopigmentation is due to the release of azelaic acid. Azelaic acid. This azelaic acid is released by the fungi or the organism. So this organism release the azelaic acid, and we have studied that azelaic acid is the tyrosine kinase inhibitor. So it is the tyrosine kinase inhibitor. So when the tyrosine kinase is inhibited, so then tyrosine will not convert into the melanin. So there is no melanogenesis, no melanin synthesis, no melanin production. So color will become dull and white patch or macule on the skin. So this is the reason that hypopigmentation is due to the release of the azelaic acid by the organism, that is the tyrosine kinase inhibitor. So we have studied their site is on the, in adult it is the upper back and upper chest. But there is other condition that is known as inverse pityriasis versicolor. Here is the condition known as inverse, sorry, 9. Inverse pityriasis versicolor. Inverse mean inversely. What is inversely? It means if the lesions are present on extremities, lesions are present on extremities. Here the site is going to change and trunk is spare. And trunk is spare. It means there is no lesion on the trunk, only lesions are present on extremities. That is inverse. Actually, lesion should be present on trunk, upper chest and upper back. But when the trunk is spare, lesions are present on only extremities, that is inversely. That is known as inverse pityriasis versicolor. Next one is the, what is the cause of the hyperpigmentation? We have discussed the cause of the hypopigmentation is the release of azelaic acid. Next is the cause of hyperpigmentation. Hyperpigmentation. Okay, so cause of the hyperpigmentation is sometime this melanocyte. This is the melanocyte. In this melanocytes, there are the melanosome. These are melanosome. So this organism stimulate this melanosome and size of this melanosome will become bigger. We call it giant melanosomes. What do you call it? Giant melanosome. It means melanosomes are bigger in size. Definitely in these melanosomes, there will be a more and more melanin. When there is a more melanin, this melanin will come out and give the more color to the skin and known as hyperpigmentation. Hypopigmentation is due to release of azelaic acid. But if you study some book, the cause of the hypopigmentation along with the azelaic acid Other is the cytotoxic effect on melanosome. Melanocyte. It means first reason of the hypopigmentation is the release of melanocyte. What is the cause of the hypopigmentation? Most important cause of the hypopigmentation is due to release of the azelaic acid, and that azelaic acid is the tyrosine kinase inhibitor. So no tyrosine kinase, no tyrosine will convert into the melanin. And second reason is this organism has the cytotoxic effect on the melanocyte. So due to the cytotoxic effect on the melanocyte will degenerate. Definitely, they will not produce the melanin, and color of the skin will become white patches or macules. How is the diagnosis or the investigation of the pityriasis versicolor? Next one is the investigation or the diagnosis. Investigations or diagnosis of the pityriasis versicolor. First one diagnosis is the Wood's lamp examination. Wood's lamp examination. What is the Wood's lamp examination? Actually, Wood's lamp is the UV filter. This Wood's lamp I have told you before. So it is the UV filter, ultraviolet light filter. So it is made up of the nickel oxide. It is made up of nickel oxide and barium silicate. So if you see through this Wood's lamp, you would see the typical greenish yellow fluorescence. You will see the greenish yellow fluorescence. So that is the you are looking through the Wood's lamp. Actually, what is the Wood's lamp? Wood's lamp is the UV ultraviolet light filter made up of the nickel oxide, barium silicate. If you look through this Wood's lamp, you will see skin will be greenish yellow and it is the fluorescent. Greenish yellow fluorescent skin. Why? Because this organism, Malassezia, it releases two things, pyridine and tyrolactone. It releases the pyridine and lactone, tyrolactone. So this pyridine and tyrolactone, they impart greenish yellow fluorescence or color. So that's why if this organism is present, then skin will appear greenish yellow. If this organism is not present, then there is no definite color of the skin. Why? Because organism is not present, Malassezia is not present, it is not releasing the pyridine and tyrolactone. Okay, so when there is no tyrolactone,
The
this
screen is
chemical
not clear, sir.
screen is not clear. Okay. No, I think it will be clear. So when you want to diagnose it, first you will do the Wood's lamp examination, that is UV filter made up of nickel oxide, barium silicate. And when you look through it, if the organism is present, then skin will appear greenish, yellow, and bright, fluorescent. Why? Because organism is present and that organism or Malassezia is releasing chemical that is the pyridine and the tyrolactone. So this pyridine and tyrolactone give or impart green, yellow color to the skin, and that can be easily absorbed through the wood's lamp. If the organism is absent, no organism, no release of these chemicals, so color of the skin will not be greenish yellow. So this is the diagnosis or the investigation. Wood's lamp examination. Okay. Next one is the KOH mount. What is that? Next test or the diagnosis is the KOH mount. 12 is the KOH, potassium hydroxide mount. This test is very simple. So for performing this test, here is your skin. This is your skin. So scratch the some part of the skin, especially doubted or suspected part of the skin with the blunt edge of scalpel blade. You know, this is the incision blade. So consider this is the suspected part of the skin because it is giving the color. So you will scratch it. Here is the scratch of the suspected part of the skin and put this scratch on the glass slide. This is the glass slide and you have put the scratch on it, and then add 10% potassium hydroxide solution, KOH, 10% potassium hydroxide on it, and cover it with the cover slip. Cover it with the cover slip. This is the cover slip because potassium hydroxide will neutralize all the keratinocytes. You have to wait for it, and then all the keratinocytes will digested. What will be digested? Keratinocytes will be digested. And then after that, you will observe it under the microscope. If you observe it under the microscope, you will feel, so you will observe it under microscope. Again repeating, you will take the blunt edge of the scalpel blade. You will scratch the suspected epithelium of the skin and put a scratch of that skin on the glass slide and add the 10% KOH solution and wait for a while because maximum of the keratinocytes should be digested. Okay, keratinocytes should be digested, and then observe it under the microscope. After that, observe it under the microscope. So when you will observe it under the microscope, if there is a banana and grace appearance, what is that? If you feel there is a banana and grapes appearance. So banana and grapes appearance mean banana is like this way, shape of the banana is like this way, and shape of the grapes is like this way. So this is the appearance of grapes and this is the appearance of banana. So banana mean filamentous. If there is a filamentar present, and grapes mean spore. So grapes indicate the spore presentation. It means some spore of the fungi or hyphae with spores. You know, when you look the structure of the fungi has the hyphae, mycelium and spores. So this is the hyphae, this is the spore, that has the mycelium. So if on under the microscope, if you feel there is some banana and grapes appearance, banana indicates the hyphae, filamentous, and grapes suggested the spore presentation. So that is the positive KOH mount. It means definitely what is present? Malassezia is present. Other name of this banana and grapes appearance is the spaghetti and meatball appearance. We call it spaghetti, spaghetti and meatball appearance under the KOH mount. So multiple times they have asked this question in MCQs. Spaghetti and meatball appearance is the feature of KOH mount under the Malassezia, especially Pityriasis versicolor. So what is the diagnosis of the Pityriasis versicolor? Diagnosis or the investigation of the Pityriasis versicolor is the spaghetti and meatball appearance by the KOH mount. Other name of the spaghetti and meatball appearance under the KOH mount is the banana and grapes appearance. That is due to the short fungal hyphae and fungal spores. Next, after the investigation, when your investigation is complete, then you will go by the treatment. So next step is the treatment. So first look me how many students are present. 60 students are present. That is not good indication. So let's move on to the treatment. First treatment you have, when you go through the any treatment of the skin, first you have to treat the underlying factor. First is the treat underlying factors. What will treat the underlying factor? Which one are the underlying factors? So we have studied these Malassezia group of the organisms are lipophilic. So don't apply oil to skin because it is a lipophilic. Otherwise, it will grow faster. Other one, it is more common in the diabetes mellitus patient because diabetes mellitus patient are the obese and they have the more sweating and the sebaceous or sebum production. So treat them. First treat the diabetes mellitus because control the at least sugar level. And it is more common in the hyperhidrosis. Hyperhidrosis. It means the person who have the more sweating. Okay, treat the hyperhidrosis and also hypothyroidism. So treat the hypothyroidism, hypohidrosis. Don't apply the oil to the skin. So next, after this one, you will go to the specific treatment, antifungal. Next step is your specific treatment is the antifungal. There are the multiple antifungals. So which one antifungal you can use? So I am going to discuss these antifungals in three categories. So which one antifungal you can use it? Antifungals are the azole group of the antifungals. Azoles, ketoconazole, fluconazole, azole group of the this azole group of antifungals. So especially you will use the topical. Which one you can use the topically is the ketoconazole. You can use the ketoconazole, azole, ketoconazole. Other is the systemic. You can give the systemic, that is the fluconazole. Maybe you have studied all these antifungal drugs in your pharmacology. So fluconazole. So ketoconazole and fluconazole you can use it. Okay, especially when you are going to use the systemic, especially fluconazole, you will give the 400 mg of the fluconazole and repeat it after 10 days. Today you have given, and next dose you will give after 10 days. But keep in mind, other kind of the antifungals are not given in the pityriasis versicolor. Which one are not given in the pityriasis versicolor? Antifungal are not given in the pityriasis versicolor is the terbinafine. Sorry, here the terbinafine. And other one is the graciofulvin. So these are the two antifungal drugs are not given in pityriasis versicolor. Why? What is the reason? What is the reason that terbinafine and the graciofulvins are not given for the treatment of the pityriasis versicolor? Actually, when you give the terbinafine or the graciofulvin orally, then during the first pass hepatic metabolism, their concentration decreases, and when they reach to the skin, their concentration is very low concentration, and they have no effect against the melasma. Malassezia, sorry, not a melasma. So therefore, if you use the terbinafine and the graciofulvin orally, then they will pass first. They will go to the hepatic metabolism or first pass effect, and their concentration decreases. So when they reach to the skin, they have the very low concentration, and this low concentration of the drug is not affected for the Malassezia furfur or Malassezia globosa. So therefore, these drugs should not be given orally for the antifungal. But if you use it topically, if you use the topically graciofulvin or the terbinafine, maybe at some extent they are useful. But orally, you should not give these drugs. Okay, but topically, maybe they have some effect. Okay, but keep in mind, when you are treating the pityriasis versicolor by giving the ketoconazole, fluconazole, but patient will come to you after 10 days or after 20 days, doctor, your drug is not working. But he is right. Patient will say after 10 days or 15 days, patient will come back and he will say, doctor, I am taking the ketoconazole, I am taking the fluconazole, but your drugs are not working. It means your diagnosis is not good. You will ask him, how do you know my drugs are not working or my diagnosis is not good? He will say, the doctor, still I have the hypopigmentation. He will, so you, he is right, because hypopigmentation will not be treated within 10 days or 15 days. So within 10 days or 15 days, maybe growth of the fungi will stop, but for the treatment of the hypopigmentation, it will take 3 to 4 months. So you will ask him that my drug is working, but I have given the drug to stop the growth of the Malassezia group of the organisms. So they have stopped growing, but this hypopigmentation will treat after 3 or 4 months. So you have to wait for the hypopigmentation 3 to 4 months. So hypopigmentation will not be treated as soon as the Malassezia group of disorders. Okay, so this is the first superficial fungal infections. Next superficial fungal infection after the pityriasis versicolor is the, let's move on to the next one. That is the first one is the pityriasis versicolor. Next one is the pedra. So let's move on to the pedra. Page number 17. Okay. So next superficial fungal infection is the pedra. So actually it is the fungal infection of the hair shaft. So it is the fungal infection of hair shaft. Okay, so look at this one. This is the hair, shaft of the hair, and this one is the follicle. So sometime follicle is okay, hair follicle is okay, but shaft, this from here to here, from the root up to the root, above the root, this one area is the hair shaft. So this hair shaft has the different colors due to the fungal infection. So it is the fungal infection of the hair shaft. And on the hair shaft, there will be multiple nodules. Hair shaft have the multiple nodules. And the color of these nodules will be different. Okay. So if color of the nodule is the white, then the causative agent is different. Okay. If the color of the nodule is black, causative agent is different. So multiple nodules on the hair shaft, and these nodules can be white or black. But what is the white? If these nodules are white, then the causative agent is the trichosporon bijli. Trichosporon, Tricho, trichosporon bijli, Beijli, bijli. Tricho mean hair, sporon mean shaft, bijli. So causative agent is the trichosporon bijli. If the color of the hair shaft is black, okay, then it is the Pedria horta, Piedria horta. This is the causative agent. So if the black pedra or the black pedra is due to the Pedra horta, if it is a white pedra, it is due to the Trichosporon bijli. Keep in mind, white pedra, white hair shaft, black pedra, black hair shaft. White pedra is due to causative agent the Trichosporon bijli, and black pedra causative agent is the Pedria horta, HORTAE. Okay, so these are the different causative agents. But one is the non-fungal causative agent. So here is the non-fungal causative agent causing the hair shaft nodules. So non-fungal, previous both were the fungal causative agents. Non-fungal causative agents causing hair shaft nodules. So mostly hair shaft nodules are white or black, but causative agents are the fungal. But sometime the hair shaft nodules are, but these hair shaft nodules are non-fungal causative agent, and that non-fungal causative agent is the trichomycosis axillaris. That is the trichomycosis axillaris. Okay, tricho mean hair, mycosis mean fungal. Okay, it is a misnomer. Actually, it is the hair shaft nodules, but most commonly hair shaft nodules are due to fungal infection, but sometimes it is non-fungal causative agent, and that is the trichomycosis axillaris. It is non-fungal, but due to color of the hair shaft, here the hair and color of the hair shaft, it is misnomer. Actually, it is not a fungal, it is a non-fungal. But misnomerly, we call it the trichomycosis axillaris. Okay, so trichomycosis axillaris is the yellowish hair shaft color. What will be the color of the hair shaft? Yellow hair shaft color. Yellow hair shaft color and the trichomycosis axillaris. What is the causative agent here? So causative agent for the trichomycosis axillaris is the yellow hair shaft is the Corynebacterium tenuis. What is that? Corynebacterium tenuis. Corynebacterium tenuis is the causative agent. So due to the Corynebacterium tenuis, there will be a yellow hair shaft and called as trichomycosis axillaris. Okay, so this trichomycosis axillaris is the yellow hair shaft color due to Corynebacterium tenuis. So this is the causative agent. Causative agent. Causative agent is the Corynebacterium tenuis. So condition of the hair is the trichomycosis axillaris. It mean there will be a yellow hair shaft of the hairs. Okay. So next one, after the pedria, we are moving on to the next third kind of the superficial infection is the candidiasis. So here it is, if it is a, look, how will you treat it? So if the causative agent is the fungal, you will give the systemic fluconazole and the ketoconazole topically. If it is a bacterial infection, then you will give the antibiotics. Clear? So first you have to identify if the color of the hair shaft is yellow, it is a bacterial infection. If the color of the hair shaft is black or the white, so it is a fungal infection. But here is a confusion. So actual, maybe here is the hair shaft, this one is the follicle, and here is the hair shaft. Color of this hair shaft is black. So you can confuse, sir. Actual color of the hair shaft is black, and still you are asking that if the color of the hair shaft will turn into black. So what is how will you identify black and black? Actually, all the person's hairs are not black in color. Brown, okay, blonde. So different colors are present of the hair. So if the color is brown and then it turn into black. If the color is black, turn into white. So that is the difference. Okay. So next one, third disease is the candidiasis. So here is the candidiasis. Candida. Okay, candidiasis. What are the causative agent? Agent for the candidiasis, especially skin candidiasis, are the Candida albicans. Candida albicans. Okay, so here is the question, sir. What are the specific investigations for the? So specific investigation is the, you can look the hair shaft through the Woods lamp only. So when you look the hair shaft through the Woods lamp, if it is a bacterial infection, it will be not properly clear. If it is a fungal infection, it will be clear. Okay, and next one is the other causative agent is the Candida Gebrata. Gabrata, albicans and Candida gebrata. So these are the causative agents. So actually candidiasis is depending on the site. Various there are the various types. So types of the candidiasis. So here we are going to discuss the types of the candidiasis. These types are divided and depending upon site. Which one site is involved? So there are the different types of the candidiasis. So on the, depending on the site, there are the various types of the candidiasis. So there are the various types of the candidiasis depending upon site. So if first one is the oral candidiasis. Oral candidiasis. So name is indicating oral mean if the site involvement is the oral mucosa, buccal mucosa. So oral mucosa are the buccal mucosa. What is involvement? Oral and buccal mucosa involved. Okay, so that is the oral candidiasis. So what are the changes of the oral candidiasis? What are the other types of the oral candidiasis? So next is the types of the oral candidiasis. So here are the types of oral candidiasis. So there are the different types of the oral candidiasis. One is the acute and other is the chronic. Page number 21. Yes. So here is the first type of the oral candidiasis is the acute and other is the chronic. Acute oral candidiasis and chronic oral candidiasis. In the acute oral candidiasis, we have divided it into further. First one is the acute pseudomembranous candidiasis. So it is again divided as the acute pseudomembranous candidiasis. Next one is the acute erythematous variant. Acute erythematous variant. Other name of the acute erythematous variant is also known as acute atrophic. Acute atrophic candidiasis. So first we'll discuss the acute and then we'll move on to the chronic. So acute pseudomembranous candidiasis. Most common white patches on the dorsum of the tongue. So most commonly there will be a white patches on dorsum of tongue, buccal mucosa and oral mucosa. Okay, So this acute pseudomembranous candidiasis is also known as oral thrush. And these white patches are detachable. They can be detached. If you scratch the upper or the dorsum of the tongue, then these are detached. These are possible to scratch, but slightly when you detach them or scratch them, they will start bleeding. Okay, so that is the acute pseudomembranous. So on the when you look on the dorsum of the tongue, upper layer of the tongue, there will be white patch on the dorsum of the tongue or the buccal mucosa. And these white patch is also known as oral thrush, and this is scratchable or detachable. And when you scratch it or detach it, it will start bleeding. What is the next one? Is the acute erythematous. Erythematous means red inflammatory. It will be a red and the inflammation. So it is most common in those patients who are taking the broad spectrum antibiotics. So this acute erythematous variant or the acute atrophic, it is more common in those patients who are taking broad spectrum antibiotics. So here patient is taking antibiotics, but we are discussing the fungal infections. Actually, in our oral cavity, fungi and bacteria are living like the commensalism. They are beneficial to each other, commensalism. So when the patient is taking the broad spectrum antibiotics, bacteria will die, fungal concentration will increases, and this fungal concentration will cause the red or the erythematous. So normal commensalism will last and fungal growth will increase, leading to the red inflamed tongue. What will be? It will be red inflamed tongue. That is the erythematous, acute erythematous variant or the acute atrophic. So it is most common in those patients who are taking the broad spectrum antibiotics because that patient is going to disturb the commensalism between the fungi and the bacteria, so it will disturb. Move on to the chronic. Chronic is again divided. So chronic is the again divided, that is the chronic erythematous variant or the atrophic, chronic atrophic variant, or other is known as chronic erythematous variant. Atrophic, chronic atrophic or chronic erythematous variant. Here is the chronic atrophic or chronic erythematous variant. So this is seen in elderly people. This is seen in elderly people. Why? Most commonly, elderly people, when they have the prosthetic teeth, okay, so elderly people, they have the prosthetic teeth, and they adjust these prosthetic teeth on their gums, so they irritate the gums again and again, okay, and that is known as denture candidiasis. Denture candidiasis due to the prosthetic teeth.